Sharon Moore is going to start the first of his 2-game suspension. You're wondering where he'll be? He'll be in his basement, iPad, notebook out, he said, watching, but he can't go to practice either for the next week. He'll have plenty of notes when he comes back. He'll miss this game, practice, and Nebraska next week. So Biff Poggi is going to serve as the interim coach. You see, they've had fill-in head coaches before. Sharon did it 4 games in 2023. So you see what the penalties are, Nick, for Sharon Moore as it relates to the Connor Stallion situation, NCAA sanctions. What's the biggest impact here?
Well, I think the biggest impact, first of all, is he was able to be at practice this week. So the first thing you want to do when you have a disappointing loss is identify what the issues are, how we're going to fix them, how we're going to go to practice every day and get it done with the players so that we can teach them so they can learn and grow. But I think Biff Poggi his biggest impact will Chip Lindsey and Wink Martindale will be able to stay focused on their respective roles in the game of being offensive and defensive coordinator. He can manage the game. I think next week, when Sharon can't go to practice, that's going to be the most difficult thing for him to adjust to. When I had COVID and I had to sit out, at least I could sit at home and watch practice on Zoom, and talk to the team afterwards and all that. So I felt like I was still engaged. But if he can't go to practice, he'll feel totally out of sync.
Didn't you beat COVID in like a day and a half, if I recall? I'm not 100% sure if my memory serves me right, but I do remember that. And you're right with Sharon Moore being out of the building. Anytime the leader, the person who's been setting the tone for the team since training camp, since offseason, is missing, there's going to be a missing leadership piece. This Biff Poggi guy, hilarious. In 1985, okay, Paisan Poggi, 1985 had $25,000, started in an investment company. Over 30-plus years, turns it into a company worth hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars. What do you do whenever you get uber rich? Well, I want to coach football. Okay? So he goes down to Charlotte, coaches the 49ers. Obviously, they don't have a lot of success. They're Charlotte football. The billionaire is the one on the left there, just loves ball. Loves ball. Then he goes up to Michigan, and now he's a guy who has led people before. He has led elite groups before. I think at Charlotte, it was tough to obviously judge his leadership because the players they had. But at Michigan, I think he's like maybe the perfect guy to be able to delegate and figure it all out. And I don't think Michigan is anywhere near as bad as a lot of Michigan alumni think. I think Oklahoma is very good at football, personally. Yeah. So I think Oklahoma is very good. And if you look at Michigan's schedule, you talk about next week, Nebraska. They got Wisconsin, who might go in and beat the hell out of Bama. We don't know what they are. But other than that,
bet on it.
Other than that, you got Michigan State, Maryland, Northwestern, Purdue, Washington, and at USC. Everything's still in front of Michigan. And they're a young team, obviously, and Bryce just turned 18. But if they can get by here, I think they will. I think
his uni looks like some of your old uni.
I wouldn't wear that.
I think you guys bring up a great point. That the fact that Sharon Moore didn't have to use a coordinator, especially offensive coordinator Chip Lindsey, that allows him to still work with a young quarterback, especially off of a loss. So I think it's taking this away and just talking about Michigan and what they did against Oklahoma. This is an offense that obviously has got to continue to get stronger in the offensive line. They don't have a lot of difference makers on the perimeter. It's just where they are. McCauley, who came over from Indiana, is a big physical receiver, but they just cannot, if people line up to stop their run, they can't just say, we'll make you pay for it. We have Desmond Howard, no problem. Right. They're looking for guys like that, but they don't have it. So it puts more on Bryce, more on the running game, and more especially on this offensive line. They got to get that right here in these next 2 weeks.
Yeah, the beauty about playing Oklahoma so early in the season is now you know who you are, now you know what you have. Because you just don't know. I mean, you know that, Coach. I mean, you think, you believe, but you never know until you have stiff competition. You see how your guys are going to react. You see how they're going to respond. One thing that's missing from this suspension that Sharon has to serve is that he was on staff when Michigan won a national championship and Jim Harbaugh was suspended. So this isn't anything that's new. If he needs to talk to Jim, Jim could give him some pointers, some hints. I'm just saying he went through the suspension, and he was the interim head coach when Harbaugh was suspended. So with that being said, I think that they're going to be just fine. Now, next week is going to be a challenge because he was able to coach this week. So not being able to coach next week, that would be a challenge. But then again, he's been through it when they won a national championship, so he probably kind of know how everything operates.
Well, let me just say this about Michigan. Bryce Underwood is a fantastic young player. Mm-hmm. And if they get the 100%. Players around him 100%. To play a little bit better, they're going to be somebody that people are going to have to contend with.
He's a real
Agreed.
I'll bet you Biff doesn't wear that sleeveless T-shirt I mean, they
Don't bet
Think
on
about
it.
Michigan, though. Just think about Michigan. Obviously, they're not going to let him do that because of the history you're saying and who they are.
Well, like Rich Rodriguez apparently once said ain't in media availability. And they said, no. I mean, so you
And
can't
you get rid of that West Virginia accent, too, sir. But they got the richest man
Rich
in
Rod
the
ain't no
world.
billionaire.
They got
Rich
the-
Rod ain't a billionaire.
That's what I'm saying. But they got the richest guy
can
in
wear
the
what he
world
wants.
as a booster supporter.
Yeah.
And they got a billionaire as the interim head coach. Good time to be in Michigan.
I love it. Got to get there if we can. DoorDash dashboard, we're bringing back the grab bag. Here's how it works. You guys don't know what the questions are. They've got a 20-second shot clock to answer. When they call stop, a question will pop up for them. Let's roll the grab bag. 4, you're up first.
I'm up first.
You're up first.
Let's go.
Let's roll it.
Let's go, boys.
Now, here we go.
Team effort here, baby. Let's go.
Stop.
Most impactful.
Oh, okay.
Clock started. I don't need a lot of time. There's a lot of great candidates out there. John Mateer in Oklahoma. I'm sorry. John Mateer in Oklahoma. He's got that Johnny Manziel kind of vibe to him right now as far as being a difference maker, impacting the entire team. John Mateer, my number one.
I love what you said there, especially with Arbuckle, the offense coordinator, coming.
Yeah.
How could you not say Joey Aguilar? Or a song of Politelli or Devin Dampier.
Your turn, Carson Beck.
Am I up?
You're up, man.
Carson
Your turn,
Beck,
sir.
Miami's back.
Yeah.
Stop. How many wins will Florida end up with this season?
Well, they already got one, right? They already got one.
Hey, look at the schedule.
Schedule's about to
Have a
pop
look at the
up.
schedule
You
here,
already got
Pat.
Okay,
One-
that's an
one and
easy
one
one
now.
down there at LSU. Easy
look
one
at
down
this.
there at Miami.
Look at this.
Another easy one with Texas. Texas A&M, we talked about that.
By the way,
Mississippi State.
they're scoring.
Last year, they had a gauntlet like
bro.
this, and they ended up winning them all. I think it's vastly different this year. I think we're looking at 4 wins there.
Wow.
That means 3 more.
Wow.
That means 3 more
Gotta
wins.
find-
Hard to find 3.
Already got one.
Hard to find 3.
Yes, sir.
It
Yes,
is
sir.
for sure.
My
Yes,
turn.
you're up.
Stop. Will South Carolina return a kick for a touchdown today?
Now they've got 3.
They got 3. I think
2 last week.
Listen. But they're going to go against Vandy, right?
Yes, they
Vandy's
too.
very fundamentally sound.
Great special
Really good
teams.
quarterback. I like Vandy. Might be a super dog pick. They do not return a kick for a touchdown today. I'm sorry.
Okay, so let me tell you a little
But
bit.
I love Beamer ball. I love Beamer ball.
2 returns last week, and then
Right.
1 obviously in the opener to win
Yeah.
the game.
Yeah.
3 of 5.
Joe DeCamillis is their special teams coordinator, former of the Dallas Cowboys and many other NFL teams.
Yep.
He said he's got massive respect for Vandy's special teams operations. They took one back on South Carolina last year.
Yep.
Special teams going to win this game.
Yeah.
Special teams going to win this game.
Vandy's on notice. They're
Nick,
ready
you're
for
up.
They're ready for the special team.
Stop.
Most
Underrated 2-0 team.
Underappreciated.
Underappreciated. It has to be University South Florida. They've beaten 2 ranked teams this year,
They got the best 2 wins. Yeah.
and they have the best 2 wins.
Agreed.
But they also, to me, play with great determination, great grit, great intangibles, take advantage of the other team's mistakes.
Good call.
And their coach has done a fantastic job with them. I think they're going to meet their match today, but to this point, underappreciated.
Panthers
Alex
look pretty
Golich has
good,
done a
too, though.
fantastic job.
Hey, Stanford,
Yeah,
Steve
Golich has done a fantastic-
Stanford Steve said earlier this week, he said if they win today,
Yeah.
they should be the number 1 team in the country.
I don't know. I think if
look at the lineup.
Tennessee
Number
wins
1.
today,
It should be a,
Boise State, Florida, Miami.
that's as good as
Tennessee
anybody.
wins today, they should be the number 1 team in the country.
I'm not saying they are. I'm just saying that's a conversation.
Wait, you know where Alex Golich learned his trade? Offensive coordinator in Tennessee.
Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and Wisconsin will kick off on ABC in just over 2 hours. Kalen DeBoer, the head coach of the Crimson Tide, getting a warm greeting from his friends in Knoxville here. Kalen, how would you describe the way you have adapted or adjusted, the way you talk and communicate with your team over the last week or so?
Well, I just continue to challenge them. They want to be the best they can be, and that's my job. That's our job as a staff to bring that out in them. And so I thought they did a nice job responding last week, but last week was last week. You know, we got to move on, but the only thing we can take from it is what we learned. And I thought they applied what they learned last week to the preparation that went into what's going to happen today.
Yeah, Kalen, you did a great job challenging your team last week after the disappointing loss at Florida State, and they really responded well in terms of how physical, how fast, the energy they played with against ULM. How do you carry that momentum into this game and develop some consistency down the road with the team?
Yeah, well, first of all, good morning, Coach. And yeah, I mean, that's the thing. You know, you got to do it every single week. And, you know, the week of practice usually leads to, you know, what the energy is. And we're going to really need to come out and put forth that energy. Morning game here. We need to bring the juice to the stadium. And so, you know, the work leads to, you know, the confidence because the preparation is there.
Coach, thank God you're on the show. We've had Alabama coaches on this show before, and they've been awful. So the fact that you're joining us, I'm very, very, very thankful for. Coach, you've obviously won everywhere you've been at all levels of football. Can you describe what life has been like for you at Alabama? Obviously, we all see the noise and hear the noise, but for you, has it been similar to previous experiences coaching, or is this vastly different than anything you've ever been through?
Well, obviously there's a bigger scale. There's more people watching, and but I think what it really comes down to is internally, you know, you always want the best and giving the best, and it hurts you more than what anyone else can do as far as applying the pressure or anything like that. So, you know, I'm used to that. I've always wanted to be at the top, you know, and so now when you're in those moments, man, it's like a challenge. It's like, you know, punch or be punched, you know, and we're fighting back. And, you know, I love that. It brings energy to me, you know, to be in these spots. You know, I love the challenge, and I feel like our staff has continued to, you know, elevate and raise the level of our guys. And so, you know, I'm looking forward to seeing what our team does coming out on the football field today.
Hell yeah, Coach.
Hey, Kalen, it's Kirk. Really appreciate you coming on this morning. I just wanted to ask you about, you openly talked about after the loss to Florida State, how you wanted your team to hold on to that pain. Do you talk about trying to kind of remind them about that week, or do you said, you know, last week's in the past, but do you hold on to some of that just to keep that edge moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, the word edge and just, I mean, holding on to the sting, it better happen, you know. It better be a part of what we remember. And again, if you're not learning from your failures, I mean, what are we doing? And so, you know, I think that guys have done a good job. I've continued to remind them of that. It showed up in the work that they put in the week of practice. And so, you know, I did feel like we had an extra edge last week, and I feel like that's carried on into this week. But, you know, again, we'll see here in a few hours.
Coach, it's not fair. Tennessee's also Florida State fans. It is not. I did not see that coming, Coach. Everybody is working against you this morning. We're on your side. So is Des.
Coach, what's up, Coach? It's Desmond Howard. I don't know if this is a folk tale or not. You need to clear this up for me. I heard when you were a child in South Dakota that you created your own football field, that you mowed a large plot of land for your siblings, your cousins, and yourself to play football. Is that true? And walk me through how you went through this whole process.
I don't know where you got that from, but somehow there is some truth to that story. I grew up in rural South Dakota. There wasn't much to do. So living out on a farm, and, you know, you got to make your own entertainment. And so there's a little bit to that.
That's great, Coach. I love it.
Kalen, we appreciate the upgrade in representation, man. Thank you.
Amen.
Hey, Kalen, look forward to seeing your team play on ABC coming up at noon. Kickoff just over a couple hours away. We appreciate your time, my friend.
Thank you, Coach.
Columbia, South Carolina, 2001 Space Odyssey will get the cocks crowing. South Carolina's won 16 straight over Vanderbilt. They kept Diego Pavia in check a year ago, winning 28-7. But what will happen in this one? Pavia has been sensational, nearly 11 yards per attempt. That leads the SEC. And we told you about Bakari Swain. 3 punt return touchdowns this year already for South Carolina. Oklahoma coming off that win against Michigan on the road on ESPN2 against Temple. Mateer has been sensational. You know, Temple now coached by Casey Keeler, who won 2 national championships, 2 different schools at the FCS level.
Oh, wow.
Hey, Pete Thamel's got some late news on this one. Taylor Green's been great for Arkansas. You can see him against Ole Miss, but Austin Simmons going to be a game-time decision. Thamel just reporting that a little bit earlier. A couple of picks against Kentucky, a little more banged up than thought. UTEP and Texas get another look at the #1 quarterback in the 2023 recruiting class, and Arch Manning's playing too. Malachi Nelson was number 1 in that recruiting class. The well-traveled signal caller starts for them, and Anthony Hill's been great for that Texas defense as they get the ship right after Ohio State. What do you think of what you've seen from Texas so far?
You know, I was just looking at that game, and I said, man, when you look at Texas, it wasn't an impressive performance. Obviously, week 1, they played an opponent who you think is equal to them, Ohio State, and they were very underwhelming. And then last week, they had like 12 penalties, just didn't look sharp. And then after the game, to his credit, even Arch Manning during the interview right there on the field said that we looked sloppy. Like, he really looked dissatisfied with the team's performance. So I think they're going to have to start to get things going. They haven't been an impressive unit or impressive team thus far. And UTEP will come after them. They will get after the quarterback, and they will get some tackles for loss because they're top 2 in the nation in both of those categories, sacks and TFLs.
And their rival, Oklahoma, I think we all left Norman incredibly impressed. And today's going to be one of those days in college football where you're reminded it's not just about X's and O's. It's about emotion. Oklahoma had a huge win against Michigan at home. They've got Auburn next week with Jackson Arnold, their former quarterback, coming into town. They play Temple today at Lincoln Financial at noon on ESPN2 and probably in front of 18,000. Today has all the makings of this. Third quarter score out of Lincoln Financial, Oklahoma 17, Temple 17. That's what it's going to be today. I'm telling you, be careful with this game.
A little bit of a predictor there from Herb Street. I love a little Nostradamus type stuff going on. We did it last week with a certain quarterback in a team, and I hope it comes to fruition. And on a complete opposite note, I think last year, Vandy could have been considered that team at the beginning of the season. But what they have now, with Diego obviously coming into national fame and folklore, saying they want to win a national championship, they got their top 2 running backs back. And they say they have the best O-line that they've ever had. But their defense, last game, they held the other team, Virginia Tech, to 12 yards in the second half. They outscored them 34 points in the second half. Yeah. So whenever you talk about this South Carolina team, obviously Dylan Stewart and a very veteran-led defense, it's like Vandy's a real problem. Going in there, Shane Beamer will have the boys ready, but Vandy's good on all 3 phases. South Carolina as well. That should be an electrifying environment for what's going to happen for the rest of the season.
Well, with Ole Miss and Arkansas, these 2 teams have manufactured more explosive plays. Ole Miss 18, Arkansas 17. Nobody talks about Taylor Green very much. There's 70% conversion rate on third down. They've been very explosive on offense. And to me, the 2 things that determine outcomes of games more than anything else is your turnover and your explosive play ratio together. So this is going to be a hell of a game when it comes to big plays in the game. But the one thing, there's a stat in the SEC which I wish we'd do some research on that people tell me about all the time.
Love that.
Playing at night in the SEC, the home team has a tremendous advantage for whatever reasons. So, Ole Miss probably has a little advantage.
Little tailgating.
Yeah.
What are you saying? You saying it's harder to play in the SEC at night than it is anywhere else in the country?
The people in the Southeastern Conference know how to get tuned up better than anywhere else in the world.
Yeah. Tennessee's a hell yeah. We can agree with that. Alabama agree.
You want this, you got that. No way, watch them walk right past you. Run fast while you have the chance. Don't speak, let